Tiffany Henyard in court today over illegal appointments she allegedly made for several positions inside the village, among them.
I'm a private investigator. I've got some books as super mayor. Inside I have from the United States District Court, Oregon District.
Former Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard's world has unraveled in a whirlwind of scandals, lawsuits, and public disgrace. Once self-proclaimed as a super mayor, Henyard now faces eviction from her home, removal from her role as Thornton Township supervisor, and an ongoing federal investigation. How did someone wielding such significant local power fall so far? From unpaid rent to allegations of corruption, we're breaking down the events that led to this dramatic downfall.
Been out this year a few times to serve them, or a household that makes, over $350,000 a year.
Let's start with the eviction that set the internet on fire. Tiffany Henyard and her boyfriend Cal Woods are being forced out of the suburban home they've lived in since 2021. According to their landlord, Janetta Hull, the couple hasn't paid rent since August, leaving them thousands of dollars behind. Hull, who once considered Henyard a friend and even supported her campaign, called the situation a betrayal. The rent, which increased to $2,400 per month due to rising property taxes, became a point of contention. Hull claims Woods said they couldn't afford the new rate, despite the couple earning a combined income of over $300,000 from Henyard's roles as mayor and Thornton Township supervisor, along with Woods' high-paying township job. Hull questioned their priorities, stating, "For a household that makes over $350,000 a year, I'm asking, how can you not pay your rent?"
The home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent. Now,
but the story gets even more outrageous. Not only did Henyard and Woods allegedly stop paying rent, but Hull claims they also changed the locks and garage codes to keep her out of the property. "If I try to go over there with a locksmith and change them back, I think she's probably going to have me arrested," Hull told reporters, expressing her frustration after filing eviction papers in September. Despite her efforts, Hull says the Cook County sheriffs have been unable to serve the eviction notice, neither at the house nor at Village Hall. It seems Henyard remains untouchable, at least for now. Hull, who says she hasn't worked in months and depends on the rental income to stay afloat, is at her breaking point. "At some point, you have to understand that karma is going to catch up to you. Just pay your rent," she said, adding that even if the couple eventually pays, she still wants them out.
Making a late appearance at the Dalton Village Board meeting this evening. That meeting was being held at the Park District building since Village Hall cannot legally accommodate the crowds it attends.
Just when it seemed things couldn't get worse for Henyard, they did. Days after news of the eviction broke, Henyard suffered another devastating blow to her political career. At a Democratic caucus held to determine nominees for Thornton Township's April election, Henyard was blocked from running for re-election as supervisor. The gymnasium where the caucus took place was packed with residents and political figures, many of whom were there to witness Henyard's public rejection. The caucus, overseen by State Senator Napoleon Harris, was chaotic from the start. Henyard arrived late, wearing a bold, hot pink pantsuit, and immediately began accusing Harris of voter suppression. She claimed her supporters were being locked out of the venue while Harris's allies were allowed in first. "They had us in the cold, letting 2 people in at a time," Henyard shouted to reporters. "We had a long line around the block, and they never let us in." Harris's camp quickly denied these allegations. An attorney for Harris explained that the gymnasium was simply at capacity due to early arrivals, and no one was intentionally excluded. People were allowed in at the proper time, and Harris dismissed Henyard's claims as baseless. Inside, the mood was tense. Many attendees, frustrated by Henyard's controversies and abrasive leadership style, voiced their discontent. The caucus lasted only 7 minutes, with Harris and his slate of candidates overwhelmingly securing the Democratic Party's nomination for Thornton Township. Henyard, meanwhile, was left fuming. "Illegal! Napoleon!" she shouted at Harris as the crowd erupted into cheers. As Henyard stormed out of the room, attendees began singing "Na na na na, hey hey hey, goodbye," turning the event into a symbolic farewell to the embattled supervisor.
Thing to win, but let's do it properly and let the people really have a voice. The people's voice was taken
Henyard's removal wasn't just about caucus rules, though her failure to meet the requirements for a full slate of candidates, including missing a certified assessor on her ticket, played a role. The caucus, however, revealed something deeper, a community that had grown tired of Henyard's scandals. Critics argued that her time as supervisor had been tainted by allegations of lavish spending, self-promotion, and the misuse of taxpayer funds. And it wasn't just the residents who felt this way. Social media has been relentless in its criticism. One user remarked, "Stop saying misuse funds. She flat out stole tax dollars and blew it lavishly. That's not misused funds." Another added, "How did she get to this?" A few years ago, she got busted for breaking into cars. She's always been a professional thief. She just recently added con man to her resume. These remarks reflect the growing dissatisfaction with Henyard's leadership and the sense that she is finally being held accountable for her actions.
Does 2 meetings in different locations. It was a little confusing for some residents, but the meeting here at Village Hall canceled after a few minutes because they didn't have a...
But Henyard isn't going down without a fight. She has already vowed to sue everyone involved in the caucus, claiming the process was rigged and illegal. "I will be suing everybody tomorrow. This is illegal," she shouted as she stormed out of the caucus. Her attorney, Max Solomon, echoed these accusations, alleging that Harris had created unfair rules at the last minute to disqualify Henyard. "Napoleon Harris is a coward," Henyard said, accusing him of silencing the people's voices. Despite her defiance, the list of controversies surrounding Henyard continues to grow. Alongside the eviction and the caucus fiasco, she's now under federal investigation for the alleged misuse of taxpayer funds. Earlier this year, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, hired as a special investigator, revealed that the general fund balance for Dalton had plummeted from $61 million in 2022 to a $65 million deficit by May 2024. Lightfoot's report also uncovered shocking spending, including $43,000 spent on Amazon in a single day and more than $85,000 on a poorly attended concert. Residents have accused Henyard of using taxpayer money for personal luxuries such as first-class flights, beauty vendors, and promotional billboards featuring herself. One trustee even compared her leadership to a dictatorship, prioritizing her own image over the community's needs. But what truly stunned residents was the revelation that Henyard had allegedly pushed for a drastic salary cut for any future township supervisors, reducing the role's pay from over $200,000 to just $20,000 annually. Critics quickly called out this move as a blatant attempt to discourage competition and ensure no one could replace her, even if she were forced out. Municipal Attorney Bert Odelson condemned the tactic as illegal on multiple levels, pointing out that it violated state laws and undermined public trust in local government.
That meeting was improperly called, improperly held. The residents of...
Even Henyard's cancer charity, once a key part of her public image, has come under scrutiny. The Tiffany Henyard CES Foundation, which claimed to empower cancer survivors, was recently ordered by the Illinois Attorney General to stop accepting donations for failing to register with the state. Critics argue that the charity had become another tool for self-promotion, with little transparency about how the funds were being used. "It's just one more thing she's using to boost her image while the rest of us suffer," said community activist Stephanie Weidman. For many, these revelations have reinforced the belief that Henyard's tenure in office has been more about personal gain than serving the public. The financial mismanagement has had serious consequences for Dalton's residents. The Illinois State Comptroller's Office cut off funding to the village after Henyard failed to provide the required financial reports. Meanwhile, the town's deficit continues to rise, leaving trustees scrambling to fix the damage. Residents have had enough, with many calling for Henyard's resignation. "She's done nothing but embarrass this town. It's time for her to go," said Deborah Jordan, a lifelong Dalton resident.
Tiffany will allow me to come over. Now time for me.
Despite the growing opposition, Henyard remains undeterred. She has announced plans to run for a second term as mayor of Dalton. At a recent village board meeting, she confidently declared, No, I am going to come through with a landslide just like Trump did. Like it or not, I am your mayor. However, her bold claims were met with boos and residents turning their backs on her as she spoke. Trustee Jason House, who is also running for mayor, expressed concern about the morale within the town's police department, which is already struggling due to the absence of a permanent chief. With lawsuits, investigations, and public backlash piling up, Henyard's future looks more uncertain than ever. Some of her supporters, like Keith Price, still believe she has a shot. I think enough people know her name to write her in, and I believe we could still win it, he said, referring to the possibility of Henyard running as a write-in candidate for Thornton Township Supervisor. However, others are far less optimistic. The Henyard saga is far from over, but one thing is clear. The self-proclaimed super mayor has fallen from grace in a spectacular fashion. With eviction proceedings underway, investigations looming, and her political influence waning, the real question remains.